Good morning, everybody. Welcome into another episode of the Attack and Third right here on the StreamPunk Entertainment Network. And there's a lot to get into. Uh, y- you know what, Steve? You were down there for the press conference, and those two guys sitting in the front office was sitting up there telling the media. And by the way, the media here in Philadelphia does a great job covering the union, asking the hard questions, doing their job. And Steve, what did you take away from all that was being said through the press conference? What was yours? Because all I got was blah 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 blah. You're trying to fool a smart Philadelphia fan base with the same nonsense. The one of the things that stood out to me was the fact that the front office was saying how the ownership was saying how they're not going to buy the flashy players. They're going to get good players. So that automatically told me off the bat. They're going to get minor moves and only develop through the system, through the academy. They're not going to buy a name because flashy players equals buying names. And you need to do that. You've seen what it did for the Inter Miamis of the world, the Cincinnatis of the world. You need to do that. You have to come out of the pocket. And again, what they tell you, they told you that they spent tons of money on the practice facilities. We have one of the best looking practice facilities in the world, but we don't have the names to go with it. I mean, so I don't know, Steve. Like I said, give it your take.
It was like what you said. It was a bunch of in one ear, out the other. Both Sugarman and Ernst not really hearing the fan base and hearing the wants. Really not even hearing the wants of the players. Kai was one of them who was very outspoken about these guys aren't ready to be playing yet. Not meaningful minutes, these young guys. And, throughout the morning, I don't want anyone to think that I'm talking bad about the Union 2 or the academy. And, if you're good enough, you're old enough sort of mindset. I am with that. I love that. I love that. But when every other team in the MLS is signing grown men, veteran players who have elite talent. Again, not saying anything about the youth and those guys not having talent. They have the talent. What the fan base is talking about is elite talent. Screw the flashy. You know, everyone, especially Ernst, they hear the fan base and they think, oh, they want us to spend a big money on a flashy player and a big name. You don't need a big name to have proven elite talent, right? There's names out there. So that's what the fan base wants. And exactly what you heard throughout. I mean, you told me you rewatched it, and it's like it's hard to let sink in. And like, wow, like, okay, they're telling you. They told you at that town hall. They're telling you from their actions, and now they're telling you from their words. They're not gonna go and shy away from this mindset of look at the academy, look at the building when you come off the exit, like what you said, look at the exit. Right when you come off the exit, you see Subaru Park, and then what's the next thing you see? You're seeing that humongous facility being built. You see those fields, and that's what they're they're wanting right now, and that's what they're pushing. And I feel like as long as Kevin Sullivan is here, nothing against him, but I feel like as long as Kevin Sullivan is here, that's where the focus is going to be. That's the audience they want. That's the fan base they want. And that's the direction that I feel like they're going in based on what they said at that press conference.
Oh, yeah, and exactly, like, so and they open up their statement with, "Hey," and they got right into it. They talked about, "Hey, listen, Jim Curtin, he's been, he did his thing here. He brought us," and they quoted right off the top, "brought us a bunch of silverware." Silverware. So I was, what's up, JD? Good morning, folks. Moneyball garbage from Ernst and Mr. Splendor Man. It's on to the fans. Yes, it was. So, yeah. So my thing is too. So again, they address about talking about, hey, Jim Curtin bringing in silver, brought tons of silverware. Yeah, yeah, yeah. My thing is like to the GM Ernest, like my thing is, you bring in a coach, and I hope that, and maybe it's something you and I talked about previously on this show. Maybe the team responds better to Andre Blake than they do to the head coach. Maybe that said something to the front office of why they let go of Jim Curtin. If that's part of the reason why, I understand. The defense wasn't responding to Jim Curtin or any of his messages. They responded the minute Andre Blake got back on the field, and I get it. But the thing is now, like, and I think this hurts a lot of people. Jim Curtin was a people person. He shook hands with the media. He shook hands with the fans. He didn't, he was just a blue collar guy. Went down the shore in the summer. You would catch him there with him and his family. Everybody liked him. I think this is what bothers the people a little bit more than anybody else. And plus, he's been here for 11 years, like longest tenure coach in Philadelphia. He's the face of the franchise. But then again, the reason, and I'm hoping, like someone said in the press box and the press conference, that you talk about the continuity and a guy that knows how to develop players. You're gonna like. I hope the next guy that comes in can do a better job than Jim. And I'm not talking about all the off the field stuff that Jim can do and him being a blue collar guy. I hope that this guy, fits what they're looking for. Because what if he is a head coach that bombs out, right? Just can't get this together, finishing last for the next 2-3 years. Like, does that put that GM in a hot seat? Will he be removed? Because you vouched for this guy. And we know how it's like in Philadelphia sports. It's kind of like the mafia. You vouched for somebody. You better come through. Because if it doesn't, you got to be out of here. So, I mean, what do you say to that, Steve?
Yeah, because Jim was definitely used as the scapegoat here.
Oh, yes.
Like most teams in sports who have such success for so long, right? Whether, obviously not winning any titles or cups or anything like that, but having success, having a winning record for, I believe it was 5 years. They had the most wins in all of MLS through a 5-year stretch. To then have the performance that they did this year, he was definitely used as the scapegoat. And it's a shame because you would think that someone like Jim Curtin would have a resume that is strong enough to be able to get the benefit of the doubt of having one season like this after the chunk of time that he had, or the chunk of success that he had. You'd think he would be rewarded at least one season of subparness. And they said it in the beginning. Do you want to get into one of these clips about
Yeah,
in the
sure.
opening statement? Yeah, let's see what they say. It's not personal, but man, oh man, when they talk about the not making the playoffs, oh, it definitely sounds personal.
Thanks everybody for showing up today. Let me start by saying Jim has been a great coach for us, and he's proven he's one of the best coaches in the league. I've taken a lot of pride in watching him grow from a youth coach, a first-time youth coach, into a 2-time MLS Coach of the Year. But I'm even more proud of the way he represented us in the league and in this city. But this was a tough year, and we need to look at everything we're doing and see if we can do it better. That starts with me and all the way down through the organization. We had a lot of injuries. We had not enough cap room. We had a lot of one-goal losses. We had a lot of home losses. Those are things that we have to fix, and we will fix. And everyone here is committed to our sporting strategy. Everyone has a responsibility to make it work, and we're all going to go to work right now to make sure we are a winning club going forward.
Yes, thank you, Jay. Good morning, everyone, from my side. I just want to piggyback on what Jay said, and mention that this is definitely not a personal decision we are taking here, and we have a lot of respect for Jimmy and what he did. Over the course of more than 6 years, we had a really good collaboration, and we've been good times. We have been faced wins, we have been faced silverware, we have been a good collaboration, as I mentioned, and it was a good time. But over the course of, let's say, the last year, we felt that we are not really aligned in what we are doing here. I had at least that feeling. We had pretty much a discussion about what we are expecting before we prolonged this contract last year. Unfortunately, things did not turn out like what we talked about, and the season was pretty devastating after all. And it's business. I have to take that decision if I want or not, and it's not personal, but Jimmy made a brand for himself, and he will definitely get over this as well as the club. Thank you.
How many times did he say this wasn't personal? And usually when you believe what you're saying, you only have to say it once, right? So
Yeah,
when you don't believe it, you say it multiple times. He said it so many times that it was just like, you can't tell me it wasn't part personal.
well, yeah, exactly. When he said multiple times this wasn't personal, it was personal. That's usually the opposite. And so to me, because the head coach, was dealt with here goes JD. He goes, the biggest loss of the firing of Jim is the face of and personality of this team. Whatever random European guy Ernst brings in next May may not be a good coach, but he won't be able to connect with the people. Absolutely. And that's remaining to be seen,
You said it.
JD.
You said it too.
What's that? Yeah, about,
The way he connects, with the fan base. You said it,
and that's why, to me, this is more personal with the fans than it is anything else, because Jim was a good guy. Jim did connect with the people. And to me, and again, this was the writing on the wall, because the success that the U2 had this year. And part of that, they looked at, and again, we talked about this 2 weeks ago, and how fast. I mean, that union front office must dial into this show, because everything we say happens to transpire. But anyway, so my message is that also there's rumors of Uwa transferring in the works. Yeah, we saw that. Waiting for the great Jose. Well, I won't say great. He's minor. Jose tells us the actual fire that goes with smoke. Yeah. So my thing is, though, Steve, when I look at this whole situation again, the U2 having success, and then look at the course of the summer, right? And this is where the academy did stick out, because no one saw Ty Baribo having a great summer. Miguel Uwa did play better this summer. I will give that. But really, the roster didn't change. I mean, the Cabin Sullivan made a couple of other guys look good. I mean, he stretched the field. The one guy, and I don't want to butcher his name, but the one kid they brought in from St. Louis played okay as far as stretching his field, because he had speed. But there was, I mean, you veteran, right? You had the same locker room, you had the same roster. I mean, and again, Andre Blake goes down for some of the season. A couple guys got called up. and they talked about, Ernst did talk about somewhere along the lines of, hey, listen, something had to take place because the fan base are going to walk away. The fan base were ready to walk away middle of the summer. The fan base, and then you're talking about want to build through the academy and all that stuff. Like, okay, great. I love, an example. I love Andre Rick. I think the kid's got potential for the future. But I have also seen Andre Rick and being on the same grass as the Messias of the world. It's two different things. It's two different things. The Miami's buying talent versus us building through the academy. There's two different things.
Yeah.
Now, granted, Miami now is nowhere to be seen, and that's we'll get into that conversation a little bit later. But and again, it's just the ownership. I'd rather hear something coming from KD than the two guys we've seen up. I'm serious, because this is the same stuff we know. I mean, a blind squirrel could have told you, could have gave you this information. Like the raccoon that we saw fly around here could have told you this. There's nothing new. It's the same nonsense. Like I said, the media did a great job asking the hard questions, and it was, them talking out both sides of their mouths.
Yeah, and I got a shorter video here. It's going to make you feel even less better because it's talking about the strategy moving forward, if it's going to change with this new head coach whenever they do sign one. Here we go.
Yeah, we have this conversation pretty regularly. Our core beliefs are not going to change, but you have to adapt as the league adapts. So we are absolutely committed to our core principles, but that doesn't mean we can't respond to things opportunities that present themselves. I think we've been challenged a number of times. Do we spend enough? Are we buying enough quality players? I have to say, from my standpoint, as Ernst said, I really believed in the group we had this year, and when they were healthy, I thought we could go very deep. So I didn't think we lacked that, but we certainly lacked some depth, and we count on our academy to continue to bring up players who can fill roles and become those top players in the future. So we're not going to change that strategy, but I have told.
Again, that was a perfect example of talking out two sides of your mouth. That was because they're talking about, oh, well, we got to adapt as the league adapts, but we're not going to change our strategy. Why?
We had depth, but we didn't. We had depth when everyone was there, and then at times it was, well, then we didn't have depth, and I think that's what people are saying. They want the depth to not be necessarily to fall on the shoulders of Frankie Westfield, of Cavan, of CJ, of those guys. They wanted to be able to fall on the shoulders of proven veteran players. And I think that's where, a lot of people are getting frustrated. And then the morning of the press conference, they announced the coaching staff. There's a new head coach for the Union 2, right? So it was like I instantly thought, oh crap, they're going to announce Marlon as the head coach this morning here, and that didn't obviously happen.
No.
And it's, well, where's their mindset moving forward for the future? And they said it at the end of the conference. They're going to take their time. They're going to go through the process of it all. Does that mean that they're looking at bringing in an assistant from somebody from a club that's still playing? And they have to go by the rules of, just like every other sport, you got to wait till, they're done playing for the season and all that good stuff. Do you see them bringing in someone MLS side, or do you see them bringing in somebody overseas?
It's funny you say that. I want to say that they're going to shop within the league, but it wouldn't surprise me if they go outside the box, right? It wouldn't surprise me if they, like JD said, to go to the Europe side of things and take a look over there, they're going to take this thing time. Okay, I can respect that. I can respect you. You're not in a rush. But immediately to me, and maybe they had this conversation behind closed doors, I would immediately give the keys to the car immediately to Marvin LeBlanc. Immediately.
Yeah.
If this was all set in stone as the big plan, but maybe Marvin LeBlanc has already been asked prior to this by another club. So I don't know. I mean, again, they're going to take their time of bringing the right guy in here, and I hope it is the right guy because, like I said earlier, I hope the next coach is going to be the right guy because if they bottom out and don't meet expectations, and if the team is a bottom feeder for the next 2-3 years, there's someone like the GM needs to go because you vouched for this guy, and we can't have that. And look, I mean, again, you had a great. I would say you bounced back in the summer. You were a bottom feeder. You bounced back. We know the story. You played. We are all being optimistic, saying that we could hang with the Orlandos, Columbus, and we didn't stand a chance. The team didn't show up. So, like you said, and just like in all sports, the coach needs to go. And I think it was a little bit of wrongdoing. I mean, you're only 2 years out from the same guy who drove you to the finals, to an MLS finals. And we're sitting here going to hang him out to dry because the team didn't make the playoffs. The same guy your quota is to build through the draft, and there's not a better person who could build through the draft other than Jim Curtin and Marvin LeBlanc, and those two are not going to be here. So what are we doing here? JD says it's going to be somebody Ernst has history with from RB. Yeah, right. Academy system. Roger, the Union 2, Marvin LeBlanc was the first team assistant. Right. And we'll see. I mean, hopefully, like I said, the coach whoever the next guy is, but he's got big shoes to fill. And like you said, not just being the X's and O's guy for the academy, but you got to be, and maybe it's just a little harsh to judge, but you better get along with the fans because, like I said, Jim was the blue collar guy. He got along. There's many times where I sat in that press box, he walked by, shook my hand, and all those other things. He was when the hard questions came, he took it on the chin and he answered the best of his ability. So that's where it's hard for a lot of people. And like I said, for a lot of casual fans, they know of the Union, but when they think about the Union, he's at the top of your mind. He comes first. He's been there for so many years, over a decade. He's been the face of it. And for them to move on, like I said, I think it was Tenowell who said it in the press conference, you only have one piece of silverware that he brought here, and he was a 2-time MLS Coach of the Year. That's going to be hard to replace. That's going to be hard to replace.
That next guy, the next head coach, best piece of advice I give him: show up to that first Sons of Ben tailgate.
Right.
You want to make a name for yourself? Show up to that first Sons of Ben tailgate. No, so you posed the question to me earlier about who is next. Then is Ernst the next person to get graded on performance and stuff? I'm not going to play the whole video, but the beginning of this, I forget who it was who asked it. They pretty much posed the question: Can you give us a grade on how you are assessing Ernst?
Evaluate the job Ernst has done in recent years. There's been a handful of new signings, guys like Ty and Danley that have come in. There's been a number of players that have come in and now played for the first team. You guys maybe didn't maximize value outgoing with Julian. How would you evaluate the job that he's done over the last 5 or 6 transfer windows?
Look, as I said, we have to look at everything we've collectively done, and everyone has responsibility in executing the vision. Ernst and I talk a lot about the inputs, like how do we scout, how do we vet, how do we find players. That process is You're competing with some very, very large clubs in the world who have tremendous resources. So we have to find our own path. I think we've had some tremendous successes. And obviously you'll always have some misses, and particularly when you're shooting at younger players, you're not going to get everyone right. But we have to be better at it, and we've started to really systematically analyze who's coming in, how did they do, what could we have done better? And again, this idea that I always ask Ernst, the first question I ask is, will this player make the players around him better? Because that is the underpinnings of our system. It's rarely he's going to propose someone who's no good. They're always going to
Have the players that he's picked made the other players around them better? Did a Denerin come in and make anyone really better? Did was it Torres and Pereira? Did they even get the opportunity? You brought them in here, and then they never got the opportunity to show if they can compete. But then you ship them off to other places, and they make an impact. Pereira is still playing. He's in the playoffs right now with NYCFC. So, he never actually answered the question. What grade would you give him? And so doesn't that kind of answer the question on who's next then on the chopping block? But how long is that leash that Sugarman's going to have for Ernst? Is it the same length that he gave Curtin? I don't think so.
No. And again, it's just, we know how sports is. We know how this thing plays out. It's just like the mob. You vouch for this guy. Like I said, I'm hoping that Ernst picks the right guy. I hope he has better success than Jim Curtin, because if he don't, and it's funny because Sugarman said during the press conference, we're not looking to tear this down, but we have to be patient. Which is it? Because if we're not going to tear this down, I expect this guy who's going to make an immediate impact and do a better job than Jim. Take us places that Jim can. I better see multiple parades. Because if if the Union are going to be bond dwellers, and if we're going to see a bunch of blue empty seats, yes, Ernest, you got an F on your report card. That boat, the next boat that goes by underneath that bridge, you better hop on and go somewhere else. Like, it's like you can't be here no more. JD saying, yes. JD said, there's the thing you said, valid. For someone, if they fail, you go down too. Just like JD said last week, Jim vowed for Kai and Bedoya, and then all the other guys that he begged to stay one more year. Yeah. Parts of the success of the U2 was the players that Ernest brought in from the first team that couldn't hack and drop down to a level. Anderson, Miguel, Assembly, Ernest took zero responsibility for all those duds. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
And that's where, to me, it just says that it was kind of personal. I feel like it was more personal for Ernst than it was Sugarman, because I feel like Jim, in a sense, probably when they all sat down, said, the utensils you have provided me, they're not good enough. They got rust on them. They don't clean right. I wanted stainless steel. You gave me plastic. And Ernst probably took it a little personal, because it pretty much said your scouting and your analysts and the way that you grade players, it's not good. And I'm sure on Ernst's side it was personal, and for Sugarman it was probably personal in the sense of, I hate that I have to do this. And that's what I think.
Right. And it was. And like you said, they probably had a couple battles behind closed doors. Steve, that was perfect, because you know what? These are good utensils. And Jim's looking at it like, bud, I'm not going to be able to cook the steak if you want me to. If you want a steak dinner, there are utensils you got. You mean, what do you want me to do? I might as well do it with my bare hands. And no, that's probably said there was probably a bunch of back and forth behind closed doors. And again, with the security of Andre Blake going down this past summer only made it that much more harder for Jim Curtin to keep his job. Like it's crazy because like the player makers you had, and like I said, you did have a better year of an Uwa and Daniel Gazdag does what but there and you're lucky there was a Ty Baribo that had an outburst in summer.
Yeah.
But still it doesn't mean there was a makeup for a Carranza. The middle part of the field was still empty. And JJG sitting there, he goes, I was absolutely personal for Ernest. Any kind of disagreement in the strategy with your balls like that, one's got to go. I get that completely. Yeah, right. And that's what it is. And listen, the part I worry about is whether Marvin LeBlanc or Jim Curtin hang around the MLS.
Yeah.
They go out somewhere else, like we've talked about on previous shows. What if they go to a bottom feeder team? You see a parade go by. You see them winning championships for another team. We bring in somebody who can't even tie their own shoelaces. We're a bottom feeder team. We see Jim Curtin with another club winning championships right off the bat. If that was to happen in year 1 or year 2, I'm looking. Even if Jim Curtin we're just playing games here. But what if Jim Curtin goes to a New England, right? And they flip the burger. They've turned their franchise completely upside down. They're a playoff team. We're not even a top 10 team in the MLS. Like Ernst would have to go for me. That would be the writing on the wall for Ernst.
Yeah.
Like you made a bad decision. You let go of a great head coach. You would have to go next. Sorry, but not sorry.
And kind of going back to JD's comment right here, doesn't it kind of tell you too that if it was that personal for Ernst and whatever was said in those meetings at the end of the season, doesn't that kind of tell you the lack of relationship that they had? That this is all it took. It took one bad season when really too they needed help from other teams, but they still had a chance to be able to make the playoffs in that last game, considering the season that they had, right? So to me, it just speaks volumes of the lack of a relationship that Jim actually had with Tanner. And
oh yeah,
I think it's going to be interesting to see what players throughout this offseason that in this winter that leave are asked to be transferred, or because you're not going to get they say it all the time. Ernst says it all the time that they said we didn't have depth, but then and they say that these kids, the young guys, aren't ready, but we haven't even played them, so how do we know yet? That comment right there told me, oh yeah, no, you're going to see a lot of Kevin, a lot of CJ, a lot of Frankie, probably a lot of Eddie Davis, all those guys next season, because now now they can just move everyone up. The young players in the academy level that can go up and play for Union 2 now, you're just going to be able to move up everyone. And so now I feel like that's the direction it's going to go for the next probably 2 to 3 seasons.
And that's been their problem, though. Like again, you're bringing up a bunch of puppies and expect them to play at a high level with guys who are just not making the Premier Leagues of the world. Like no, like people want to come here now. Listen, cha-ching talks. Miami. Listen, Miami set the blueprint. Messier, come on over here. Bring you and your friends. I'll take care of it. We'll take care of it over here. What's Philadelphia doing? Well, listen, we're going to adapt. Yeah, we're going to adapt, all right. Pat, bring Angelo. Bring him up. I know he's just he just got 3 chest hairs on his chest. Bring him over. He can start playing with us. No, like you can't be always bringing puppies and expecting to play and hang with the big boys of this league. It's totally unfair. And again, I don't expect Bedoya to be here next year.
No.
I expect him to ride off into the sunset. But what are we doing here? What's the direction? It's the same direction. And Ernest's strategy or his philosophy, his strategy is go on our strategy. We'll go through my strategy. We'll be a-okay.
Yep.
Are we? Are you sure
No.
about that? You know what I mean? I mean, so far, I mean, you went through a championship again under the Jim Curtin era. He did the best he could. You got down to the wire with an LAFC team. You backpedaled a little bit last year, and then you don't make the playoffs and first time in forever with this guy, and you're ready to. This gave you a reason to give him a boot. Okay, but I hope the next guy you have planned coming through here can do a better job, because if he can't do it with under 3 years or less, you're going to have to move yourself. You're next. You should be next.
You're next.
Sugarman should line up like the Godfather movie. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? And my man's Fredo. You know what I mean? They're going to have to go out fishing, and and that's it.
Are you going to be Goldberg? Do the Goldberg. Who's next?
Yes.
Can you
JD
imagine?
said, yes, he's going. But again, this is it. And I'm pretty sure Sugarman and Ernst had the conversation prior to the press conference. Like, listen, they're gonna hit us with a lot of hard
Oh my
questions.
God, yeah.
And I'm hoping your decision on this, and I'm gonna back you. This better be the right one, because
Yeah.
your 6-year plan better be like a 2-year plan. We had a death, we didn't see it. It's because they didn't play. Had me yelling at my team. Yeah, we did see Anderson blow the game in Cincinnati. We saw Simley get chipped. BS Ernest. We did see it. Yeah. And again, where's yelling at my team? Where is Anderson? Great kid. Shows a lot of heart. He'll battle through injuries, but he's not on the senior team.
He's not doing that. He's not doing what he did for the Union too in the Eastern Conference Finals and in the finals.
No,
for
he's
the
not even
for the senior team. So
he's not. He don't even have a pair of cleats on if he did that for the senior team. He's sitting back. So I mean, it's not against the guy. And I'm like I said, I'm happy that he did his thing. But again, like I just, and I'm gonna, because we love the Union, and we're not gonna go nowhere because the Union is tattooed to our hearts. We're gonna take this trust and Ernst. Okay, you got a plan intact. It's going to be better, all this stuff, or like you said though, Steve, or this is just a revenge. This is to give you a reason. Oh well, we missed the playoffs. We got to get rid of the head coach. It sounds more of a something behind the curtain. No pun intended. This sounds like something was behind the curtain. There was a fight, because you said multiple times this ain't personal, and whoever asked the question asked you a tough one, and you still said the same thing 8 times. Yeah, it was, and you didn't get off that schneid. Like, it's not personal, but no, there was disagreements. This gave you a reason to get rid of the guy because they didn't make the playoffs. I'm pretty sure there's going to be a ripple effect, like you said, Steve. Guys are going to ask for get out of here, transfers, all that stuff. But I don't know. Listen, if they bring it. This will tell me everything. Is this going to be like JD says, is this going to be a buddy of his that he's got history with? Or this is going to be like this guy I've scouted, we gave him the job because he is a tremendous X and O's guy. That's going to remain to be seen. Right.
Yeah.
Somebody has history.
Now I'm bringing up this one, the old comment.
Right. It's somebody has history with. Yeah, and that's all going to remain to be seen. So if they go outside the box and bring in a guy that's not, no one that he has history with, somebody who's an intelligent mind and great X and O's guys, as somebody who has success in whatever league they come from, hey, we'll have to open our arms and see how it plays out. But there's going to be, like I said, there's going to be a bulk of fans now that hope that this new head coach that doesn't have success. So this way, because a lot of these people are going to be within year 1 or year 2 is still going to be gym guys.
Spiteful. It's going to be that, you had that coworker for so long at work. They were your work best friend, and then the company fired them, and then they hired someone new. You're gonna give them the cold shoulder for a little bit. Nothing personal, but it's like you got rid of my favorite head coach of all time. What do you think? So you
And
that guy's gonna have so much proving to do for no
yeah,
reason too.
and,
That's what sucks for him.
yeah, absolutely. Like I said, he's going to have big shoes to fill. You're
Yeah.
going to have to do a better job. Remember how Doug Pearson was sacked for a few weeks after the season because of the impasse over Carson Wentz. They tried to talk it out, and it didn't work. Same thing happened here with Jim. Exactly. Like, and listen, there's a statue of Dougie P. You know what I mean? Look, and I'm going to
Yeah.
get a little later on my other show talking about Nick Sirianni. You know what I mean? The guys couldn't wait to drive him to the next bus stop. And, listen, he's winning it. And there's still people wanting to drive him to. People are waiting for this guy to fall apart. And, they're going to hope that this Jim, they're going to hope that this Ernest plan falls apart and it doesn't, succeed. I'm just sitting here, us as media members, us as, we have a little bit more of a open heart. We're going to see how this plays out. And listen, I can't, I can't treat this guy unfair, but there are going to be fans, like you said, that hope this guy is, cocky with the, with the media and cocky with the fan. But I doubt it. It's just, they're just going to hope that this plan of Ernest falls on his face because you got rid of their guy.
No, 100% with you.
So, but listen, we'll have to see what happens after this, Steve. A lot to undress now, rather to unfold. Still yet to come with this Philadelphia Union our Union team. We're going to have to see who's going to be a head coach for this team. And until then, and of course, any moves that they make, we'll be here. We'll be sitting there. We'll be discussing with all the fans here. But Steve, there are MLS playoffs still going on, and now it's time. Now, listen, my first go around didn't go as my predictions thought it would. I totally fell on my face. So, Steve, let's go between both New York clubs. Who do you have?
This is tough. This one is tough because how maybe the last like 5-6 games of the season for the Union, we kept saying you don't want the Union you don't want a Philly fan base and a Philly team to get hot entering the playoffs, right? Well, that's the Red Bull, unfortunately. So you have that aspect of it, but I'm looking at where out of these two clubs, who is the player that stands out the most and who's going to be the X factor. It's got to be Matt Freese, right? What he brings, what Andre Blake is to the Union, Matt Freese is to NYCFC. And so I think that is going to be, and now we're in knockout rounds, right? There is no best of 3 or whatever, right? This is the real deal now. So yeah, I'm going to give the edge. I'm going to give the edge to NYCFC.
All right, I'm going to go the opposite. I think with that kid, Emile Forsberg being back in the Red Bull lineup, I think the Red Bull handled business against NYCFC. That's going to be my take. Next Saturday night, it's going to be a good one. Next Saturday night game. Yes, it hurts. It hurts very bad to see two New York teams battling out, and one of them are going to go to the Eastern Conference Finals. And it's crazy, right? Whether we like it or not, again, the NYCFC have an opportunity now to be within 2 years to be in another Eastern Conference Finals. We'll see how that plans out. Next on the card on Saturday night, you have LAFC FC taking on quote unquote from Angry Ant, my Seattle Sanders, and I'm going to go. I'm going to rock with them, even though I deep down think it pains me to see LAFC FC take it. I'm going to go with the miracle. I'm going to go with Seattle Sanders being the underdog here, taking it.
Well, just like the last game, we're going to be opposite on this one. I got LAFC. I just think they're too strong offensively. They have the flashy big names, and they beat them all season. They beat them 3 times this season. So actually, 4 times? They beat them in February, they beat them in July, and then they beat them in Leagues Cup and in the U.S. Open Cup. So it could set up for the Sounders. It's hard to beat a team 5 times in one season. So maybe it's setting up for the Sounders with the upset. I know you'd be
Yes.
happy. You'd be
Yes.
flying out to Seattle
Listen,
for the
listen
parade,
now.
right? Of course.
Yes, well, underneath this shirt, I have a Seattle Sanders jersey on, apparently. But we'll go into the Sunday games. Another tough one, Orlando and Atlanta. I'm gonna go with the upset. Again, I'm going with the upsets here. Just the way the Atlanta defense, I saw against Philly. It spoke volumes against Miami. They play ground and pound defense. Give me Atlanta over Orlando.
And I hope that this isn't a case of the MLS schedule getting in the way of how teams are performing, right? Because you have this 2-week gap. Atlanta's playing so goddamn good, and they have the huge upset against Miami. That's what I'm with you here. I'm gonna ride Atlanta and this hot streak they're on. I hope that it's not a case of not playing, getting cold, and too much time in between. But yeah, I'm with you. I'm gonna go Atlanta.
Yeah. LA Derby in the West, NFC. Here goes JD Walker's picks. He's going to go LA Derby in the West. He's going both LA teams, NYCFC and Atlanta. I'm
Okay,
going to go
so
one LA team. I'm going to go with the Galaxy.
uh-oh.
Again, impressive year from Minnesota, but I'm going to go
Yes.
with the Galaxy on this one. Just the way they blow the doors off of Colorado last go around. I think they're going to do the same with Minnesota. And Minnesota's been a great story too, by the way.
Isn't that's my favorite part about MLS, right? Such parity in the league where last year you had Cincinnati and Columbus, and then they get knocked out. Both teams get knocked out in the first round. And then you have stories like this with Minnesota and what they've been able to do. You have the stories about Atlanta, but I think Atlanta's story continues. Minnesota's nice little playoff run and their beautiful story of a season. It ends in LA. So I'm with you there. So Sunday we're aligned. Saturday we're opposite.
Right. So the way it's going to play out with you and me, I'm going to have the upset Seattle Sounders and the LA Galaxy meeting up for the Western Conference. You have both
same
LA
as JD,
teams, same as JD, and then on the East, I got the Red Bulls in Atlanta meeting up. I think it's going to be one great offense taking on one great defense. And you have NYC and NYCFC meeting up with Atlanta. So we both have Orlando getting cashed out here. So, but yeah. Luckily though for Orlando, you get to spend some more time in the sun though. So at least they have that going for them. So, but yeah, guys, listen, this has been a great episode. A lot to discuss. I mean, usually we break down players and all that, but again, we're here to talk with you, Union fans, guys. Next week, if you guys still want to react to how you feel about how the front office gave you the same the runaround about why they released Jim Curtin, they haven't even give you at least a clue of what they're looking for as far as another coach. But if you guys still want to talk with us, again, join us here on the Attack and Third. Going into the fourth season of the Attack and Fourth now. Now this season is officially closed out. So, guys, and again, we'll react to more playoff picks and strategies and all that throughout. So, guys, thank you so much for Soldier Steve. Follow him right there on Twitter, Soldier Steve 247, and for myself, Pat Bernard, Pat from Ambler on Twitter. Give us a follow. Thank you so much. Great job, everyone. See you guys.